Hey guys, Evans with Z111 here today, bringing you a video on Chroma, the new dragon-styled Warframe that was added to Warframe in Update 16. Now, reason why I'm starting in the arsenal and not a mission is because the thing that makes Chroma unique and stand out from other Warframes is its appearance actually affects its abilities in terms of the energy colour you choose for it affects the element that its abilities use. I will quickly show you his abilities. There's Spectral Scream, which is basically exhaling breath, Elemental Ward, which creates a ward around him, a shield that changes depending on the element, Vex Armor, which can increase his armor and his damage depending on how much damage he takes, and Effigy, which creates a fuck off dragon that guards an area for you, which is really cool. But as I was saying, if you go to his appearance, then you can customize the energy color, and that will affect the element. This is the blue one, which I'll be using this mission, and that is the electricity element. But then in my next setup, I've got a fire themed Chroma who uses fire abilities, much more dragon style. And then on C, I've got a ice Chroma, an ice style dragon with ice abilities and cold moves. And you can also do a toxin / poison or corrosive one if you want to, if you make him green. But as I said, I will be using a electricity one this time. And as I said, it does affect his abilities, and I'll explain what the other ones are like in the mission itself. So I'll find a mission that I can do solo to show off his abilities and how he works. Okay, so I will be flying to Eurasia on Earth because my Chroma isn't fully leveled yet. He's level 19 with a catalyst installed, so I'm pretty much relying on my weapons and not my abilities. But the thing with Chroma is most people would think that his abilities are what enables him as a Warframe, but that's kind of wrong. Chroma as a Warframe is more of a brawler, and his abilities enable him to do things with his weapons more effectively. So, of course, why don't I open with the first ability? Spectral Scream is one that essentially breathes the element that you use, and that channels your energy gradually, and the elements obviously have different effects. So say if I was using fire element, it would set the enemies on fire. If I was using electricity, then it will stun them and damage their shields more. If I was using poison, it would poison them and damage their health. If I was using ice, it would slow them and do damage over time and eventually turn them into ice cubes, which would be cool. So to be honest, as far as abilities go, his first ability, Spectral Scream, is actually the most offensive one. It's the only one that's purely damage orientated, and it can be a good ability. It's good for its constant procs. Say if you're doing a defense mission, say infested defense mission, you can use Spectral Scream by the cryopod, and then it will set all the infested on fire. Or if you're using shock, it will stun them. It's good when there's large groups of enemies, but it's pretty situational, I'd say. It's still a cool ability nonetheless. It has the best effects and the best sounds, and I really like it as an ability. But it hinders your mobility. And are you shitting me? Stalker. Okay, well, I might actually have to, I might have to jump into his other abilities really quickly here. I will set up a ward for myself, and electric wards buff my shields ever so slightly. And then I will give myself Hex Armor, which means the more damage I take, the more armor I get, and the more damage I'm putting out. So I need to wait for the Stalker to appear. What would be better, the Nucor or the Ignis? I'm actually going to go for the Ignis, just because the Stalker can move around fast. Alright, Stalker, where you at? Okay, wait, Stalker cancels out abilities, doesn't he? So this is actually going to be much more harder than I need to get to cover quickly. He's cancelling out my abilities, so what can't he cancel out? He maybe can't cancel out my Effigy, so I will summon my other dragon. And there's the problem with summoning a dragon. Summoning a dragon basically gets rid of your armor. Because what happens is the dragon comes out of you, so your external armor becomes the dragon, or the Effigy, or whatever you want to call it. So what you just saw there is a complete fail at taking down the Stalker. Because my Hex Armor, my wards, they don't work against the Stalker because he cancels out abilities. And I'm using the Ignis simply because it breathes fire, and if I'm going to be playing a Dragon Warframe, I want to roleplay as a dragon. So I'm using the Ignis as my primary for a flamethrower. I'm using a Nucor as like a laser beam, which some dragons have in some kinds of lore, and this cooks enemies from the inside, which is pretty cool. And my melee weapon is the Atarax, I believe. Is it the Atarax? Yeah, the Atarax, seeing as it's like a dragon's tail, which can be used as a weapon, or as claws, depending on how you want to look at it. But the Atarax is a great weapon. So now that I completely failed with a Stalker, I will use this opportunity to show you Chroma's other abilities when I actually find an enemy. Where are the enemies at? Are they up here? I don't know why they're so far away. This is an exterminate. Wait, is that it? You shitting me? Was it just that one guy? Okay, all the way over here for that. Okay, so thoughts on Chroma. I'll get into his abilities when I'm actually in combat. Thoughts on Chroma so far are okay. So in terms of requirements, how you get Chroma, it was easy enough. You just need to do a quest, then do a few missions, craft the parts, and something I like about Chroma is all of his parts are made of other parts, like he needed a Volt helmet, he needed a Sarin systems, and he needed a Ember chassis, I believe, and basically his components require other components, obviously because of the elements. But I think that's a cool addition because it allows people to get rid of those old blueprints, and it doesn't require stupid rare resources. Well, it does require some rare resources. It requires Argon, and I think it required Tellurium at one point, which was unexpected because Tellurium is an Archwing component, which is pretty rare. But seeing as I said I would explain the other abilities when I'm in combat, that's what I'll do. First of all, my Elemental Ward, if I have electricity equipped, what it will do is reflect damage back to attackers, because it kind of works as like an electric shield. So it will buff my shield up and it will also reflect damage, but as you can see I'm still taking damage, so it doesn't completely reflect it. So in order to fully utilise that, what I want to do is enable Vex Armour, which basically means when I take damage you will see my Scorn go up when my shields are damaged, and Scorn means my armour goes up, which means I'm taking less damage to my health, and when I take health damage, my physical damage goes up, so I'm now doing more damage with my weapons. So it's a kind of dynamic ability that relies on Chroma being damaged in order to become fully useful. So if I equip my Elemental Ward and my Vex Armour, then I will be reflecting damage to attackers, which means me needing to take damage, but the damage I take will also be turned into extra armour and extra damage. So again, you're going to be wanting to get high shields and high health on this Warframe. I would say if you're going to prioritise anything, focus on getting high HP, seeing as armour, as far as I know, doesn't affect shields. Armour only affects your actual HP. So with Chroma's really high, incredible armour, it starts with a base of like 600 or something, and his Vex Armour, which increases his armour even more, and his Elemental Ward, which is dependent on him being damaged. You're going to want to have a lot of HP, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Now, seeing as I'm running out of enemies, what I will do is use my fourth ability, which is Effigy. So as you can see, it gets rid of my armour, so now I'm really weak, but it will summon this little dragon, who will basically just fuck up any enemies in this area with the elemental attacks, using his elemental breath. He'll use shockwave attacks if enemies get close, and that drains your energy at a gradual rate. You can cancel it early if the enemies have been killed, but otherwise he just pretty much defends his own. So that ability is very much useful for defense missions, mobile defense, even survival to an extent. Any kind of mission where you're not moving around a lot and you're staying in one specific place. So not too great for an exterminate mission if I'm honest, but what I could do is activate Effigy here to deal with the Kubros whilst I'm busy taking out their desks, and then he will just fuck them up using his shockwaves because there's a big group of them, and it leaves me to take out the nest without being hassled by loads of little dogs. And that's a good thing with Effigy. And something I should note is he also has a chance to give enemies to drop extra credits. So there's a current 0.15 additional credit chance, and every credit that does drop is multiplied by a certain amount too. And the elements also affect what other things it can do. So the electric Effigy will give me a speed increase, seeing as electric and volt and everything, and electricity is associated with speed in this game, apparently. And I believe the fire one gives people around the Effigy more health, and little things like that. So as you can see, this Warframe is very dynamic in the way that all his abilities change depending on the element, the abilities interact with each other, the abilities are dependent on taking damage, and I would say he is one of the most dynamic Warframes currently available, in terms of all his abilities just integrate with actual combat. They're not separate entities, you use them in and out of combat. Very similar to Mesa, if I'm perfectly honest, because Mesa has the reflective skin, one that means she reflects damage from bullets, so that requires her being in combat to be fully effective. She has Shooting Gallery, which means her attacks do more damage, and that goes to allies as well. And she also has the first ability, which charges up and then does a superpowered shot, which again changes depending on your weapon. So it seems as though DE are taking a much more dynamic approach to their Warframes, as opposed to just having abilities like Shock or the Frostbolt or like spellcasters. They're making the Warframes feel more like your character than your class, if that makes sense. And I like that. I feel as though it's a good approach for the game. So Chroma, definitely not one of my favourite Warframes, but I like the approach I've taken with him. He's not too hard to farm, so I'm not disappointed with him, and I'm enjoying him so far. Obviously he's not level 30, so his abilities will become slightly more powerful. But what I think I'll mainly use him for is credit farming, or if I just feel like doing something different on a defense mission, I'll drop his Effigy on a defense point and go around with melee and start brawling and stuff, and I reckon it'd be fun. This was my video on Chroma. If there's anything else you want to know, let me know and I'll answer your questions in the comments below. Until then, this has been me, Evans, was Evan111, and this is me out. Peace.